Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to share with you guys some discoveries I made. It's probably been 8 months ago now. I shared it on Dwayne McClain TV podcast a while ago, but all that stuff got erased. So I'm just going to share it with you guys right now. I was a pretty big fan of Anthony Bourdain, and for those of you that don't know who he is, he was a celebrity chef who made a lot of travel vlog inspired content, and he went all over the world, ate a lot of good food, was a very interesting character. Watched him probably since 2006, 2006, 2007, when he started No Reservations. It was a really interesting show, and loved the way that he would incorporate the culture of the peoples with the food he was eating. And I just loved the show, loved everything about it. Anyway, so I went back and watched the first season of No Reservations, and I got to season 1. I got to episode 12, and he was in South Florida. Well, we all know that there's a lot of voodoo culture and hoodoo culture in South Florida due to the islanders that have immigrated there, and the Haitians, the Cubans, the Puerto Ricans, and they brought a lot of those African religions into South Florida, and there's a lot of people that practice them down there. Louisiana too, a lot of the southern states. Anyway, there's about 18 minutes into the episode, he connects with a voodoo priest, and it just happens to be one of the voodoo priest's holy days for one of his major deities, Marisha. So they go to the voodoo priest's house, and there's an altar set up there, obviously for his worship of his deity. And Anthony Bourdain sits down in front of it, and he takes a cola nut from the voodoo priest's hand and puts it to his forehead, and the priest tells him to make a wish. And in making the wish, he says he's not going to tell us what he wished for, but since Rosario Dawson or Asia Argento hadn't showed up at his door yet, then his wish wasn't answered. So let's fast forward to 2016. He has an episode for his new show on CNN called Parts Unknown. Parts Unknown was very similar to No Reservations in the fact that they were going all over the world, meeting up with other famous chefs, and getting culturally involved, but it had a lot more of a political bend to it. Obviously, being on CNN, he had already basically sold himself out for the system. When it was on Travel Channel, it was a lot different. Anyway, the episode in Rome, he meets Asia Argento, and if you watch that episode, you can see that automatically they're romantically involved. You can tell the chemistry is there right from the start. So I was watching that, and when I went back and looked at the old No Reservations, I never remembered that South Florida episode, and then I seen that and I connected the two, and I was like, wow, he really got his sacrifice to Marisha answered. It answered him. It gave him exactly what he asked for. So to lead it further, that ended up being a huge mistake in his life. He ended up committing suicide. Probably some of you know that he ended up supposedly committing suicide, and there was some really hokey details around that. They said that he overdosed on drugs, but he had been clean off heroin for a long time. He was an ex-heroin junkie, so that's believable. It was also said that during that time he was working on a documentary with 2 other people who also apparently committed suicide, that was based around child trafficking and missing children and things like that in Hollywood, you know. So that is already suspicious. But let's get back to Asia Argento. So she is a self-proclaimed red witch. You go onto her Instagram and look at the images she posts. There's tons of symbology. There are straight up admissions of being a witch, of procuring things through magic, through blood ritual. She is covered in tattoos of different witchcraft symbols. She's a witch from Italy, and it's not strange that she is a witch because Italy has tons of witches. It's a witchy culture, and Anthony Bourdain got all mixed up with her. So there's this other kid, his last name's Bennett, he's 17, and let's preface this real quick. So Asia Argento accused Harvey Weinstein of sexual assault, or attempted sexual assault, and she did it at the Cannes Film Festival. Off script, she comes out and demolishes Harvey Weinstein. So she's all connected with the whole Weinstein thing, and everyone was on her side. And she has a friend, Rose McGowan, who was all on her side, and they blew it up, and she became a major part of the Me Too movement. Fast forward a couple years later, now she's being accused of sexual assault on this actor Bennett. I can't remember his first name, but the actor Bennett was 17 at the time when she sexually assaulted him, or was accused of sexually assaulting him. And Anthony Bourdain found out about it, and he paid Bennett off in cash, under the table, under the radar, so that the thing could just go away. Not too long after that, Anthony Bourdain winds up dead. Also, with all the details involving the other 2 people who suicided themselves over that child trafficking film. And most of this stuff most of the evidence for the child trafficking, supposed child trafficking film, has been wiped off the internet. It's been eliminated, but if you look hard enough, you can still find details about everything that was going on. And if you dig deep, you're going to find a lot more interesting facts about Asia Argento and who her father was. An occult film director from Italy, a very famous one. One of his projects is Suspiria. There's a lot of, it's a deep rabbit hole. So something to look into. You want to go down the rabbit hole and see some connections, and find some more interesting things about it. To all my followers, I would recommend doing it, and getting a firmer grasp on how real all these things really are. When you see it with your own eyes, go back and watch No Reservations, episode 12. At 18 minutes, you're gonna see exactly what I seen, and then go watch his later shows, and study the relationship between Asia Argento and Anthony Bourdain. You know, he had a wife during all this, and from what I know of her, she was a good lady. She's a jiu-jitsu martial artist, actually trains under the same lineage that I do. So we're kind of connected. All of us are kind of connected, you know. I'm one step away from actually knowing him personally. And it's just something that came into my life, and I got to see some things with my own eyes that a lot of people don't get a chance to see because they don't have the exposure that I received with this. They don't have the channels. So I'm just opening it up so people can look a little deeper. Anyway, have a good day. If you like this video, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. If anyone's interested in Anthony Bourdain, let them know that this video is out there. Let's get some exposure for this, because I feel like it was all brushed under the rug when he died, and it's kind of a bad thing for someone who was such a dynamic human being and what I thought was a pretty neat person for society to have just get washed over with a suicide note. You know, it's foolish, it's nasty, and it's what happens when you play with the occult.